Welcome to Edge of Your Seat.
First off, let's go back to the future with Ready Player One. Well before this film was even announced, Ready Player One had a cult following. The book,
I haven't read it.
I have, was a smash hit in 2011. Back then, geek culture was still riding high on a wave of cultural acceptance. Geekiness was mainstream. We were showing the world we were cool all along, and then Gamergate happened. Geeks showed their nasty side, a sordid underbelly of exclusionary, reactionary misogyny, and like it or not, that has tainted everything since. So that's why I bring it up. If I'd read the book back in 2011, if this film had come out 5 years ago, my feelings would be significantly different. But we deal with things as we find them.
Do the plot already.
Okay, so following a string of crashes and disasters, the world finds itself in a position where online life is the only life worth living. An 80s obsessed techie billionaire, think Steve Jobs crossed with Willy Wonka, minus the charisma, has created a VR paradise called the Oasis. When he dies, he reveals the existence of an Easter egg in his game. The first to find it will inherit the company and control of the Oasis itself. See? Willy Wonka. We follow every gamer Wade as he and his fellow Gunters race an evil corporation to the literal keys to the kingdom. So it's a basic treasure hunt plot with very little baggage or depth to it. And unfortunately, the same has to be said about the characters. Ty Sheridan, again having to wear a visor, makes for a bland lead. And though love interest Artemis is better developed here than in the book, she suffers from muddled messaging. The film as a whole does this too, with an attempted theme of reality acceptance feeling tacked on at the end rather than threaded throughout, and an approach to geekiness that sees status earned by trivia, which is a geeky trait I loathe. Hey, you! If you're wearing that, you have to prove that you're a real fan. Where was the minor character Muftak born before he was abandoned on Tatooine?
Sod off.
And yet, that's the thing that will draw the crowds. And I would be lying if I said it wasn't cool to see some of the pop culture mashups they pull off here. The final act in particular features a truly incredible battle sequence that's a feast for the eyes of any geek. And that alone probably makes it worth seeing. Just lower your expectations. No, it's not Spielberg's best for years. The Post was better, and that was only a couple of months ago. And switch your brain off first. Wes Anderson is one of those directors who can be described as having a singular voice. He has a very particular way of writing and filming that I almost universally find to be charming. So when I heard that he was making a stop-motion animation, pretty much my favourite type of animation, about dogs, pretty much my favourite animal, set in Japan, one of my favourite countries, in the future, one of my 3 favourite tenses, I was immediately on board. Plus, the name is a dog pun that I can get behind. I love dogs. I love dogs. Thankfully, the film lives up to its promise. The story is a clever take on the usual boy and his dog routine from the canine perspective. The gap in understanding is here played with as the language barrier between English and Japanese, which manages to work without being culturally insensitive. In fact, Anderson takes the same care in constructing a pleasantly twee version of Japan as he has done with America in the past. Though it's an animation, it might not be suitable for the entire family. Impressively grotesque scenes include stop-motion sushi making and kidney surgery, but it is well worth checking out for any big kid. In the second animated film of the week, and the second to star Asian animals, arrogant flyboy Goose Peng is incapacitated right before his flock's annual southern migration, and ends up having to walk the route with 2 motherless ducklings. Now, despite being described on some posters as being another DreamWorks product, Duck Duck Goose is actually a Chinese-funded project made by a group of small American animation companies. How times change. This seems to have limited the film to a fairly forgettable plot and lowest common denominator humour. Prepare for an onslaught of fart and butt jokes. That being said, there's nothing offensive in the film's messaging about learning responsibility when forming a family, so little kids will probably get a kick out of it. And though the character designs can be generic, there are some stunning backgrounds of China in autumn and winter. My main issue, though, was the scene-to-scene editing. Haven't seen anything quite as choppy since Suicide Squad. Teen romance time now.
Yay!
And the second film of the year by director Scott Speer. 17-year-old songwriter Katie Price. No, seriously, that's her name. Just just go with it, has a rare skin condition called xeroderma pigmentosum, XP for short, which means that she cannot be exposed to direct sunlight without severe health risk. Contained in her blacked-out bedroom, she develops a crush on neighbour Charlie. When the two meet on a rare night she's let out, they begin a doomed relationship.
Spoilers!
Oh, come on, everyone knows how this story ends. So, your tolerance for Midnight Sun will come down to how much you like this type of film. It can be cheesy and cliched and have moments of, shall we say, not the best acting, but that's all part of the formula. It is worth noting, though, that the conditions highlighted are very much a Hollywood version of XP. Real sufferers would likely never have such flawless skin, and that may put some people off. Realism really isn't a factor in this romance, but as the meme goes, it's still a better love story than Twilight.
But we do want to check out the original Japanese version.
Is the new post-apocalyptic creature feature horror from real-life husband and wife John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. They play the Abbotts, parents desperate to protect their children in this harsh new world. The core concept is a plague of monsters. Think the devil spawn of a xenomorph and a demogorgon, with a little Last of Us clicker thrown in for good measure, with acute hearing who attack anything making too much sound. This means that, despite being in English, it also means that most of the storytelling is purely visual, and most of the scares come from the soundscape, with tension constantly building around quite what level of noise will trigger the creature's wrath. The fact that the film can build characters and relationships so well is down to great direction and a believable family dynamic, which means it's often genuinely harrowing to watch what this family has to go through. If you get a well-behaved audience, it's a genuine thrill to see in the cinema. Based on the excellent play of the same name, Ghost Stories stars the ridiculously underappreciated Andy Nyman. Recommendations including, but not limited to, Dead Set, Campus, and Shut Up and Shoot Me, as Professor Philip Goodman, debunker of the paranormal. When challenged by an old hero to examine 3 disturbingly unexplainable cases, Goodman finds his rational worldview strained to near breaking point and, well, that's as far as I'll go with the plot. The play always asks the audience to keep the secrets, and I admire both productions too much to spoil them. All I will say is that fans of old-school horror anthologies will be in a beautifully hellish heaven. The film just oozes with decay and dread, the visuals and use of darkness creating a palpable sense of loneliness and the unknown. But it also manages to be genuinely funny at times too. It is a uniquely British macabre sense of humour, but it is there. This won't surprise anyone who's a fan of either Derren Brown or The League of Gentlemen, as co-writers Nyman and Jeremy Dyson are heavy contributors respectively. The acting is also solid throughout, especially from Alex Lawther. Of course, it's Martin Freeman, again very good here, who's likely to draw the crowds, and this film deserves them. Whether it's anything like the hit that the stage show was remains to be seen, but it's instantly identifiable as a future cult classic. Next time, it's a teen rom-com again with Love, Simon.